In my D&D group, we see a lot of player character deaths. Usually mine. But typically due to circumstances, we don't see a lot of resurrection. In fact, we've only had 2, and one of those got a little intense. It all began when tragedy struck, as it often does when fighting a mind flayer. One member of our party, Parvis, an albino minotaur barbarian paladin of Tempest, got turned into a Parvtato by an intellect devourer for the second time in the campaign. But unlike the first, this time the mind flayer we were fighting then sucked his brains out. We ended up winning the fight, but then we were faced with a dilemma. Our party did include a cleric, Arena, the world's tallest dwarf, but she couldn't do anything because none of her spells would regrow Parv's brain. But we had to do something because Mercenary, our third party member, wouldn't let him go so easy. Mercenary was an Aasimar fighter and a fellow paladin of Tempest. She and Parvis had a shared backstory, and along with Arena were original members of the party. And because of this shared history, she wasn't willing to let Parvis go without a fight, so we had to investigate alternatives. Luckily, by this point in the campaign, we had made a few allies, and one of them was able to direct us to a druid that might be able to help. We took Parvis's body to their garden, and they agreed to help us for a favour and another cost that we'll get to in a minute. Naturally, Mercenary accepted, so we laid Parvis's body on the ground and prepared for the ritual. The way my group does resurrection, nothing is guaranteed. Our DM makes a roll when an appropriate spell is cast, and up to 3 bystanders can affect the DC by sacrificing something for the deceased. The more significant the sacrifice, the greater its influence on the DC. Also, the more times a character has died and been resurrected, the higher the DC is to begin with. Arena wasn't with us for the ritual, so the first to step up to make a sacrifice was an NPC that had been an ally to the party for a long time. Then my character, Moist, gave up a pair of bugbear ears, literally the only thing I had on me. Moist was my 4th character for the campaign. Like I said, the deaths are usually mine. And had only been with the party for a couple of sessions at this point, so was virtually worthless for the sentimentality required for the ritual. But I was all there was, and it was all I had. And then Mercenary stepped up. As she stood over Parvis's body, Mercenary drew her sword and held it aloft. It would make a fine sacrifice, not only being a magic weapon, but also representing her martial connection to Parvis, and through that their shared devotion to their god. It also, purely from a gameplay perspective, wouldn't hurt as much as many other sacrifices could, as Mercenary tended to dodge more often than attack. She and Parvis fought in tandem, with her more focused on using her shield and abilities to prevent damage while he was the big hitter. She was an excellent tank, and we'd actually gotten through more than one fight thanks solely to her defensive capabilities, with her never even landing a blow herself. She would protect and defend because that was her thing, and she used her shield to do it. Her shield that she needed to use to do it. Her shield that required an arm to use. Her left arm. Eventually she passed out from blood loss. She didn't die, which was nice because that would have been awkward. But she only had one arm for the rest of the campaign, which certainly took adjusting to. But it wasn't the only thing that took adjusting to. After Mercenary's sacrifice, Parvis's body sank into the ground, becoming cocooned along with all the sacrificed items. Then our DM made the roll, and thankfully for Mercenary's sake, it succeeded. However, we were then faced with the other cost of dealing with the druid. You see, this wasn't just a resurrection. It was a reincarnation. So, when Parvis entered the cocoon, he was a dead, 6-foot-tall albino minotaur. When Parvis re-emerged, alive once more, she was now a 4'10" human. And that's the story of the resurrection that cost an arm and a leg. Everything worked out in the end though, until the very next session, when we accidentally released an ancient and powerful god of evil from his eternal imprisonment. But that's D&D. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, subscribe if you fancy more of them, and leave a comment below if your game has ever seen a player make a gnarly sacrifice like chopping their own arm off on behalf of another, or if you've ever seen any entertaining results come out of a reincarnation. And until next time, may your dice roll better than mine.